Okay, today we're going to be studying the slope-intercept formula. The slope-intercept formula is y equals mx plus b, also known as the slope-intercept equation. This is where the value of y equals 1. That is, the coefficient of y is 1. The coefficient of x is the slope, m, and b is the y-intercept. So whenever you reduce a line equation to 1y equals, you have your slope, m, and you have your y-intercept, which is the units, which we designate as b. The reason we use this is because it is very simple. It is the best way to solve graphing problems, and it is also required for calculators. You cannot use your graphing calculators to solve 2x plus 2y equals 3. You have to reduce that to 1y equals. So let's take a problem where the slope is 3/4 and the y-intercept is -3. Well, first off, we may say slope, but we write m. And y-intercept is b. So if we're told that the slope is 3/4 and the y-intercept is -3, and we're asked to find the line that contains that information, let's use the slope-intercept formula. That would be y equals mx plus b, and we already have y with a coefficient of 1, so we don't need to change that. M equals 3/4, so let's substitute that in there. And b equals -3. We don't need that plus sign before the negative sign. That's better. So that's the answer to the question. Y equals 3/4 x minus 3. That's the formula for the slope and the y-intercept that they gave us. Now, let's see if we can develop a formula if they give us a line. Okay, so this is our line, and let's look for our y-intercept. It's right here. So the y value is 1, 2, 3. Our y-intercept is +3. And that goes through the intersection of 0, 3. So that works out real well. That's right, b equals 3. And let's go back and try to find the slope. Now let's look for our next intersection. That is where the line crosses both of the grid lines. And that would be right here. So to get there, we need to go down to 1, 2 in a negative direction. And then on the x-axis, we're going to move 3, 1, 2, 3 in a positive direction. So on the y-axis, we're moving in a negative direction 2, and the x-axis, we're moving in a positive direction 3. So the slope is -2/3. And we've discussed this before. It doesn't matter which direction you go. If you decided to start at the second point and go up, you would go 1, 2 in a positive direction and 1, 2, 3 in a negative direction. So it would be 2 over -3. But whichever direction you go, it's -2/3, and that is our slope. And m equals -2/3. So we have all the information that we need to insert into our slope-intercept formula. Y we're going to leave alone, of course. Let's plug in that -2/3 for m, like that. And let me tell you something about that x. That x belongs to the numerator. Now it's okay to put the x like right in the middle of a fraction like you see here, but quite often I see students pull that x all the way down to where the 3 is. That is not correct. Okay, it does not belong to the denominator, it belongs to the numerator. Now if it's in the middle, the assumption is that it belongs to the numerator, that is, it's 2x over 3. So let's plug in the y-intercept. And we have y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3, and that is the solution for that line. Now let's go in the reverse direction. Let's say that they give us a y-intercept formula all filled out, and we need to create the line. Okay, so we have the formula y equals 1/2 x minus 4. And they are asking us to draw a line. So the first thing we're going to do is mark the y-intercept. The y-intercept is negative 4. So let's come down negative 4 from the center axis and mark that spot. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the negative direction. And the slope equals 1/2, which means we're going to rise 1 and we're going to run 2. So from the y-intercept, let's rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Now 2 points is all you need to make a line, but to make our line really looking straight and nice, I like to make a bunch, especially since really most of our work is done. So let's keep rising 1 and running 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And so that is our x-intercept. And if you wanted to go in the other direction, you could rise negative 1 and run negative 2. And we know that a negative rise is a descent. So let's go down. Negative 1, negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2. And you can see that all those dots match up, so we can make our line. And there you go. For that formula, that is what that line is going to look like. And that is the solution. Now we talked before about having a formula like this, and it's not in a form that's usable. That is, if you want to guess what the points are and do all that, you can. But really the best way is to get that to 1y equals. And we've done that before. We can isolate our y. Let's get that 3x on the other side. And pull all that down. Okay, and we're supposed to have the x in front of the unit, so let's change that around. Good, and let's isolate that y by dividing everything by 4. So 4 over 4 isolates y. Our negative 3/4 x we're going to leave alone, so our slope is going to be negative 3/4. And our y-intercept is going to be 12 over 4, which we're going to reduce to 3, and that is our formula. Y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3, and we can graph that. Okay, we've already done something similar to this, but we're going to go through this again real quick. And let's start at B. Now what is B? That's right, it's the unit spot, and that would be 3. So let's mark 3 at the y-intercept. And I'm going to make that dot real big so you can't miss it this time. And slope is rise over run, so let's descend 3, that's negative 3, and run 4. 1, 2, 3, and run 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again, descend. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then maybe I want to use 4 as the negative. So I'll rise positive 3 and run negative 4. 1, 2, 3, and in a negative direction, 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, all those points line up. And that's our line. Oh, did you forget something? That's right, don't forget those arrows. That goes out into infinity. And your homework goes out into infinity. It really doesn't, it just seems like it does. Make sure you do your homework.